to the Boris podcast. Let's get straight into it. So the way we're going to be structuring this episode, I'm just kidding, it's a random ass piece of paper I found laying around on this table. I'm currently in some completely random university or something. I just walked into the building, and the reason I'm being a bit quiet is because I'm probably not allowed to be here. So I walk into this random building, and I find a meeting room, and I act like I'm booked to be there. And I just go in and I start recording. You gotta give me some credit for being a G, at least. Now, the way I'm holding this phone up right now is through this helmet that I also just randomly found here. So I hope I don't get sued after this episode. But I just said something extremely important that I need to get out to you. And that is the concept of the shadow psyche as described by Carl Jung. And this is the single most important thing that any Muslim can know. This whole idea came out in the West and it's been integrated pretty well. But in the Muslim world, people just refuse to accept this. And this pisses me off, and I'll explain why. They just think it's haram. Because to understand your shadow, you need to admit that you have a proclivity towards sin and shaitan. And people have a hard time accepting it because their whole lives, they've been conditioned to be or act like they're perfect. So the situation we have now is we have two types of Muslims. We have the ones who understand that the shadow or the shaitan exists, and they learn to tame him, just like I did, because I'm a G and I'm a Chad and a few other good things, as we've discussed earlier on the episode. And then we have the ones who pretend that doesn't exist and they act perfect. And just as Carl Jung predicts, those people somehow end up manifesting it in a worse way. So this will most likely look in the form of acting perfect in public in front of your parents, and then when you're in private, you do like the most haram things. Doesn't that sound familiar? Or even, like with your Muslim friends, with your family, you're this angel. Right when you cross that line between the mosque and your university or whatever, you're gone. Zina, parties, hookups, you don't give a damn. Because until you understand what the shadow is, or the shaitan, and accept that he is like a part of this world, whether you like it or not, you will never be able to control him. So, firstly, I'm going to try to link this into the religious context, because obviously this is a Muslim podcast. We have to accept that as long as we're in this world, we have a tendency towards sin. We have urges that we won't be able to control. Even in the Holy Quran, when it talks about people who will go to heaven, it says those who repent and give dua and give charity will be admitted to heaven. It never really says those who don't sin. I've never seen it say, maybe I don't remember it, but I don't remember a part at all. All the verses I've seen, it always says those who repent. So you need to understand that there is this force out there. The shaitan is part of this world. He has some control over us. But that doesn't mean you need to succumb to him. But in order not to succumb to him, you need to understand that he exists. And it's very paradoxical, but I'll give you an example. I'll link it back to our everyday lives to make it more easier to digest. So this morning, I'm arriving on a plane to this brand new city. Well, not a brand new, I've been here a couple of times. I came out on my work, right? Because I'm working remotely these days. So I'm here and I'm about to start my work later. So I get paid while I'm here, which is really cool. I get to travel around while working. And I ask my boss, I'm like, listen, I want to come to this place. So I'm going to start later this day and I won't be able to do X, Y, and Z. And just me asking that took me so much courage, because believe it or not, there's so many people who are never going to ask something like this because it feels uncomfortable. Later in the day, he says, yes, I get on the plane. I arrive at the city a couple of hours ago. All the hotels don't book you in till 2 p.m. It's like they never break this rule unless you specifically ask. So I called them up and I asked, can I get an earlier check-in? And they were like, oh, we don't have anything available at the moment. You have to ask later. And they were trying to like sort of move me off of them. When I went there, I felt uncomfortable because I kept asking for these favors, right? Like all day long. But I just picked up my balls and I asked anyway. I just kept asking, can I get an early check-in? And eventually they said yes. And I can tell you right now, every single bit of what I did, even though it might seem like pretty normal, I wouldn't have been able to do that unless I had integrated my shadow. Because if I was like you, I would think I'm this perfect angel who's just perfect in every possible way. That I wouldn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to put them in like a pressure situation. So I wouldn't ask for anything. But in this world, you need to ask for things in order to get them. It's just like a golden rule. And even like, most of us throughout our family, we've been conditioned that not to really ask for things, to be because that's been considered rude in a lot of, especially like Asian cultures. And I'm telling you right now, you'll never be able to overcome it until you understand your proclivity towards violence and towards horrors of the world. Now, oh, whoa, I just realized I can control this computer. Check this out. Just found this mouse here. I can just move this computer. That's pretty sick. See how much you can get away with when you're integrating your shadow. You can just come and start doing things and people just let you. So anyway, where am I going with this? The whole idea of right and wrong, it's a very complicated idea. And a lot of people try to use Islam to, make themselves understand the difference between right and wrong. But I'll tell you one thing 100%, most people don't actually live their lives like that. For 99% of people, they pretend and they think that they're living by the Islam standards of morality, but they're actually just following the morality of their societal norms. For example, in Germany, it's like really weird to cross a light, so go like jaywalk when it's a red light and you just cross anyway. That's like really weird. Everybody starts to hate you, so nobody does that. It's like a social rule. In Uzbekistan, that's completely normal. People just walk past anyway. And why? Because Uzbekistan is a Muslim country. In Islam, it doesn't say you can't do that. So they do it, they just do it. You know what I mean? But in Germany, what's their God, in a sense, astaghfirullah, is obedience to societal norms. Do you understand this? If you live in the West, and this is a very common example with the young Muslims, you most likely have the mindset of the Western morality. For example, all the feminists, the Muslim feminists, they've completely adopted the Western ideal of what male and female dynamics should be. So you have communities where I'll come out, like when I'm on social media, and I will tell people, these women are breaking these rules and we need to do something about it. Like I call them out and everybody acts like I'm doing something wrong. Sometimes they say it's haram, sometimes they just call me out because they are blatantly living in the Western ideal, like the Western morality. And they think, well, the Westerners, overall, everybody says that it's haram, it's not haram, it's like it's wrong to discriminate between men and women. So he must be doing something wrong. You go to an Islamic country and it's completely normal. Because in Islam, it is a clear distinction between men and women. It's very, very obvious, right? But then they'll find something else, like, oh, Islam says you have to treat everyone equally, so you can't tell anyone there's a difference between people. So if you are living like this, then I sincerely want to tell you that you are a coward. Because a strong Muslim man will not abide by these BS rules. And even if everyone around him thinks he's a bad person, he will keep doing that. What do you think I did in my life? I will go on social media, Instagram, YouTube. I saw the problem with the Muslim community specifically. And pretty much the whole world, but specifically it was bothering me because it was Muslims. Women weren't allowed to be held accountable for their actions. So as far as these morons are concerned, women are allowed to go and commit zina. They're allowed to go to parties. They're allowed to spread hatred and cause divorces, and nobody is allowed to give a damn. Nobody's allowed to call them out. And we've removed this whole accountability thing. So women are now online, like corrupting everyone else, all the other women. And the social media allows this because they want the women to degenerate. And nobody's allowed to say anything because everyone's a coward. Why do you think I was able to call them out? Well, everybody else was a little pussy and they were like keeping it like really vague, like all these like Islamic speakers, they couldn't tell you the absolute truth. It's precisely because I've integrated my shadow. Because I'm not afraid to be seen as a bad person in front of hundreds of people. I was walking down the street and just my demeanor, it seemed a bit weird to these people. Like everybody around me was looking at me a bit weird because the way I was dressed, I was wearing something else, and I had like this thing on my chest. You know how those like gangster wannabes act. So everybody thought I was weird. But as I was walking, I thought, oh, maybe I should change my outfit. But then I thought, you know what? I actually don't care. I really don't care. In fact, I enjoy it. That's the definition of being a man. Being able to walk in front of like 10 people who are looking at you like you're a retard and still being able to stay true to your own belief and your own, what did I say like that? Stay to your own beliefs and your truth. Just combine the word belief and truth and set them in the Mike Tyson accent. But that's what masculinity is. And in order to do that, you need to have the proclivity to disappoint a whole bunch of people. Sometimes you'll be in a situation where you will need to disappoint your parents in order to follow your own truth. You'll be in a situation where you need to call your woman out and put her in her place. There's like people walking around, I think they can hear me. They're like, what the hell is going on with that guy's lecture? It's like, what subject is he studying? That's embarrassing. But yeah, this is why I'm able to do what I do. How do you think it feels, right? When you make a point online about women, say last time I said like, oh, these women are gold diggers and they're asking for like $1 million mahram, $1 million mahr, and I told the Muslim men that we should just marry reavers and Christians instead. The amount of hate I got was insanity. It was like, oh, you're ugly, your voice, you need to start working out, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's a whole bunch of hate. And people DMing me almost every day, telling me that I'm a bad person, telling me that if I should shut the hell up, or they'll confine my house and beat me up or something. First of all, like that last threat doesn't really matter because I'm a what's the word? I'm a martial arts master, so it doesn't really affect me in that sense. But not many people are able to handle that. And that's why not many people will be able to live true to themselves and become a Chad. And those are the exact people who are more likely to start sinning because they have the idea of looking perfect in front of other people. And that, in some weird way, results in you being more inclined towards bad things when you're alone. I don't know why. So you need to connect those two identities. You should stop pretending to be as perfect as the society expects you to be. And you need to stop being as bad as you currently are when you're alone and inside your head. And you need to bring those two things together in the middle. I'm not saying you're going to occasionally sin. That's all right. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you need to understand your tendencies. You need to understand that you're not as moral as people see you and as you see yourself. And that's going to be a start, because then you'll be able to figure out, okay, instead of doing this, I'm going to restrain myself, and instead of, going out when my parents are away, they are at a different city, I'm not going to do that because that's haram. And I'm going to tell my parents straight in the face that I'm going to pursue this career even though you don't want me to. When you start doing your small things one by one, and I think the proper name for it is, what was it called? Assertiveness training. When you start doing this, you'll be surprised how much better your life gets. You'll be able to not listen to your family and apply and pursue careers that you previously would have never had the balls to do, because you were afraid everyone's going to think you're weird, your parents are going to be disappointed, like, oh, well, why are you wasting your time? You're going to be able to not listen to your mommy and go into martial arts anyway, even though you might get hurt, because you know you're like 20-year-old guy, you have all the energy in the world. This is the perfect thing for you to do. You're going to be able to not listen to them. Now, obviously, this can get out of hand because, I can show you right now out there's probably going to be like 4 or 5 crackheads who are just like, I'll do whatever the hell I want, they're just throwing stuff around. And obviously, we don't want to be like them. But those people don't care about what others think. But they do it in a stupid way. They do it in a way where they don't have a morality, they don't have a foundation. They're just like the thing at the top that just goes with the wind. So this is why I keep telling you need to have a moral foundation. And Islam is what's going to be your moral foundation. So you need to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you to do, not what other people teach you about Islam. You need to gain your own knowledge by reading the Quran and the Hadith and watching videos. And you're going to use that to defy what other people try to get you to do. That way, you're not going to end up like a crackhead, but you'll have the power of a crackhead to not be able to care what others think. And that's the perfect combination. I don't care what people say to me. This is the best way to live your life. And it's not something any of these Muslim people will tell you, because they're all going to act like everyone's perfect. It's like a societal expectation. So I hope this video will change your life, just like all the other ones. I do need to say that I have been banned from a lot of platforms. Instagram is still running, which is good, alhamdulillah. But the only way I can really get views these days is by people sharing my videos around. So whatever you're watching this, I don't even know at this point. Whenever you're watching this, take the link to this video and send it to someone else if you got any value. Because firstly, you are spreading the word, and people are going to start liking you more because of that. And secondly, I don't know how long I'll be making these videos. If like right now the views are okay, but if there's no potential for growth, then I'll have to start something else. Like maybe I'll move on fully to short form content or something. I don't know. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, you need to encourage me to make more by sharing it around. That's just how the social media game works. Either way, make sure you watch my other episodes of Spotify podcast. And if you have anything at all you want to tell me, leave a comment to get the engagement up.